Kanse, I'm Krisanach Kate. Welcome to a special edition of APTN National News while our staff is away for part of the week. We begin with an inspiring story out of Ottawa where a unique person who has been working with the Assembly of First Nations, she has been bridging both the deaf and hearing worlds together while at the same time tackling inclusivity, Indigenous rights, and revitalization in 4 different languages. APTN's Kim Sullivan introduces you to Marsha Ireland.
I thank you for allowing me to talk with you.
She's a deaf Oneida woman, but also a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, and an advocate for inclusivity. Marsha is also the Assembly of First Nations Accessibility Ambassador.
The 7th generation teachings of the Haudenosaunee peoples reminds us of the importance of building strong, supportive relationships with one another. They remind us that the decisions we make today can contribute to creating a sustainable and inclusive world for the next 7 generations.
It is with those generations in mind that for almost a decade now, Marsha and her husband Max have been helping to revitalize an Indigenous sign language. To be born deaf in a spoken world is alienating. Most of what a person learns, from their surroundings to concepts of who they are, is acquired through language.
One. All right.
At a young age, Marsha was sent to an oral school for the deaf, where lip reading and speech were the main methods of teaching. It took years before she was given a tool to communicate, American Sign Language. Yet, Marsha still felt like an outsider.
English and ASL really did not align with me. It really felt like such a disconnect. It didn't support my identity as a First Nations person. Yanko.
She thought that by advocating for ASL interpreters to be allowed into longhouses, she would finally connect with her Indigenous identity. That was not the case.
No one anticipated was that they would speak in Oneida, and the interpreters just put their hands down because they didn't understand Oneida.
In ASL, we would say thank you.
Limited to American Sign Language, which is based on English, Marsha was, once again, excluded from the conversation. Marsha did not want any other members of the deaf community to experience the same thing, including her 5 children, 14 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren, many of them also deaf. With her husband Max bringing together the deaf and hearing worlds, and with the help of an Oneida elder, Olive Elm, who translated English into Oneida, they created a sign language that truly represents their native roots.
Like in ASL, they would say the great law of peace, and they would have to fingerspell each word. But for me, this is the great law of peace. We're talking about the tree and it being rooted in the ground, and the sky above it. And so this is the great law of peace.
Oneida Sign Language is deeply based in meaning and not into words.
So in ASL, you would do dog, but in OSL, we would use this, truly reflective of the animal. And so we really looked at what does it mean? What's naturally there?
Marsha now uses this new voice, sense of pride, and identity to speak up.
I'm always going to try and engage with people because I think that we really have to come together as equals. However, I do come to the table quite often and say, but we forget about those who are deaf. You know, we say we want equality. We're not always remembering that we need equality and that we all haven't considered everyone here.
On access to
the role of AFN Accessibility Ambassador allows her to come to the table with a whole community of disability advocates backing her, including Okanagan Indian Band's chief Byron Lewis, whose daughter lives with disabilities. He moved a resolution rejecting the Accessible Canada Act in order to advance distinct First Nations accessibility legislation.
The motion and everything like that is sort of tip of the iceberg because this gives us an opportunity to, one, is to highlight the issue, two, is put the support mechanisms in place, and the third one is actually start helping these people, not only the people with the disabilities, but the people that are actually supporting them, because all of them need that. It doesn't matter if it's a physical disability or one that's with mental disability.
Advocates are asking for sustainable funding and the recognition of First Nations' right to design and deliver healthcare and disability services. Chief Lewis says this resolution is not solely focused on Indigenous deaf populations. It benefits everyone in the communities, helping them heal and reconnect in the way their ancestors did. Just like the efforts made by Marcia and Max, which are creating a way for future generations to engage with one another.
That's the beauty of it. It combines everything to everyone. And that's inclusion rather than exclusion.
Hearing our deaf, sharing in knowledge. Kim Sullivan, APTN National News, Ottawa.
A new exhibit has recently opened at the Museum of Anthropology in Vancouver. It showcases the history and culture of the Nuxalk First Nation from Bella Coola, BC. APTN's Tina House was also there and brings us this interview.
Thank you. We're here at the Museum of Anthropology with the ladest exhibit, Nuxalk Strong. Joining me today is Dr. Sinkikila Clyde Telio. Clyde Telio, will you please tell us what's happening here?
Yaus Madam, Ansta Sinkikila. Nice to be here with you. Our exhibit, Nuxalk Strong, Dancing Down the Eyelash of the Sun, is a first of its kind. It's the first time that we as Nuxalkum have been able to bring people together in a space like this to tell our stories, to celebrate our ancestors and our history and the path that they've cleared for us.
Wow, incredible. I've actually had an opportunity to visit your community, and it's incredibly beautiful there, and certainly a strong culture and a strong nation. Now, to witness the ancestors' work here, to witness the incredible talent of the stories and the culture and the protocol that's been shared, what do you want to say to the public about this exhibit?
Well, for many of us, Nuxalkum and Indigenous people, museums have been colonial trophy cases. They've been viewed as colonial trophy cases. And that's been true for a while. We know that much of our treasures, our ancestral belongings were taken. But what we've discovered doing this work is that many of our elders had that butlautinihik. They've had that foresight, and they chose to place treasures in museums or work with anthropologists and linguists and preserve traditions that we now today can revitalize. And as our people are in an era of revitalization, reconnecting with the treasures in museums and also building a new foundation with museums, a new relationship that allows us to co-curate an exhibit like this that both speaks to Nuxalkum in the revitalization efforts that we're taking, as well as showing the world who we are and that we're still here, we're still practicing our traditions, we're still Nuxalk Strong.
Amazing. Can you please tell us about this beautiful panel feature on the door here?
So the artwork that you'll see throughout the exhibit as background art was done by a young Nuxalk artist named Anuchimana, Jade Henyus. She is a beautiful, bright, young Nuxalk artist that is producing some amazing stuff back home, as well as working to revitalize culture in the community, using her skill to bring treasures alive back home. And so we wanted to feature her, and she did this beautiful design of the ayut, the thunder. And thunder is a symbol of Nuxalk's resilience. It's a dance that never stopped being danced, even in the height of the potlatch ban. And so we wanted that at the entrance of our exhibit to show that Nuxalk continues.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with us. And this goes on for another year, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Back to you in studio.
Hobier is known as the Nisga'a New Year. It's a time for celebration, showcasing the strong culture and pride of the Nisga'a people and other First Nations from around the West Coast. APTN's Tina House was there this past weekend in Vancouver, where the event took place.
Thank you. We're here at the Nisga'a New Year, otherwise known as Hobier, and joining me today is Tony Robinson, the CEO of the Nisga'a Tamix Vancouver Society. Tony, nice to see you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What does this New Year mean for your people, Hobiye?
Well, we're celebrating the Ulakin, and as we heard earlier, the MC announced, the moon's facing a certain way. It's an abundance of our food in the upcoming seasons.
That's beautiful, and what a crowd here this evening. Now this is opening night. How many people are you expecting here this evening?
6,000, possibly 6,000 each day.
Wow, incredible. And obviously the Nishka are going to be doing the grand entry shortly, but who else is here in terms of dance groups from around the West Coast?
There's 17 dance groups throughout the Lower Mainland, Vancouver Island. And we also have 2 dance groups in the Northwest as well.
That's amazing. We've got a trade forum over there. We've got all kinds of vendors. What else can we expect to happen over the next couple of days?
The vendor market. I'm glad you mentioned the vendor market. There's about 59 vendors, and 50% of them are Nishka entrepreneurs. And it's been increasing each year for the vendor market. And they do well for the 2 days. Today and tonight and tomorrow, you'll see like our theme, Reclaiming Our Spirit. It's just all the dance groups showing how they reconcile in their way, in their culture. So it's a great atmosphere.
Absolutely, and to see the culture alive and well and presented in such a beautiful ceremonies that we're about to witness, and seeing the little ones dancing, that's my favorite.
Yeah, correct. And the dance groups are getting larger each year. I've been here, this is my 4th Hobiye Tamix edition. The main Hobiye, as you know, is up in the Nishka lands, which happened February 21st, 2nd. This is Nishka Tamix edition down Lower Mainland. And it's for Nishkas like myself who can't afford to travel home, just to celebrate our Nishka New Year with other nations as well.
Excellent. Certainly a wonderful occasion to celebrate. Tony, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you in studio.
We have to take a short break, but when we return, we'll tell you about a new and unique children's book. Stay with us. Welcome back. A new children's book blending facts about Australia's cold-blooded creatures and Indigenous cultural knowledge is playing a role in reviving First Nations language. Deadly Reptiles is stacked with information about more than 60 reptiles, including their traditional Indigenous names, with some of those being recorded and published for the first time. NITV's Nikili Siren reports.
It's the new book taking kids on a wild adventure, diving deep into the deadly and fascinating reptiles that call Australia home through the lens of First Nations language and culture.
This book for me was about, telling the true history of our reptiles. It was about opening up the light of the knowledge that our first people have had. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have had this knowledge for millennia, not just for 236 years, but for 65,000 years.
The children's science book, written by Deadly Science founder and best-selling author Corey Torch, features more than 60 reptiles, surprising readers with all their hidden wonders.
When I was young, I loved reptiles, but I learnt about reptiles in the whitefella way. I think if you can see through things through different lenses, you'll become a more well-rounded person. If young non-Indigenous kids grow up loving and understanding and respecting our culture, they're going to respect our people more.
We have used Indigenous names, First Nations names before, but the depth of Corey and Ben's research has been a standout for us. So that's really exciting to give these reptiles a really different dimension and gives the kids a broader understanding of how they connect to country.
Officially launched at Taronga Zoo, Deadly Reptiles is recognised as a first of its kind, giving young readers a unique chance to learn through a First Nations lens.
I just think that it's really Marambablang deadly to have this much language and culture in a book.
Bringing together vibrant illustrations, interesting facts and, most importantly, knowledge from First Nations cultures across the nation. tackling the tricky task of introducing kids to the incredible and fascinating world of reptiles and teaching that they may be deadly in more ways than one. Mikili Siren, NITV News.
Staying in Australia, a breathtaking international performance uniting First Nation artists from Australia's top end and Taiwan has recently premiered in Melbourne. Chasing the Rainbow is the culmination of 5 years of work between Yolngu and Paiwan communities. NITV's Cameron Gooley reports.
A duet from across the seas. Yolngu songlines and Paiwan storytelling brought to life through song and dance.
Milkum numalingo nai danlingo kakal kanganablingo kakal yolngo.
The collaboration is between Yolngu people from northeast Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory and Paiwan people, First Nations people from Taiwan.
Paiwan is one of the 16 recognized tribes in Taiwan, and we actually are the second biggest group in Taiwan, but still minor compared to the whole population of the Taiwan population. And then we're mostly located at the southern of Taiwan and east coast of Taiwan.
The performance showcasing Paiwan culture through costuming, dance and song.
Our craft represent lots of words, lots of social hierarchy of Paiwan culture. So from our dress, from our song, and you can see the patterns on the projections.
The production has been 5 long years in the making, with the communities involved sharing their culture and building strong international relationships in the meantime.
Tau Australia ngobala botun danil godoyon. Adanil golnya nangainga. Yo kadangom kadanil railin botun. Tambal ngarong away pulingaili. Mana puling gogayon. Nama.
Through this work, we can see lots of similarities from the history or from what we've been through, the language crisis or for other social issues, and then we can see so this work, we kind of like heal each other and work together and then continue our relationship.
Premiering as part of the Arts Centre Melbourne Asiatopa Triennial, Dapu Newpart will run until Saturday.
Collaborating and working with other First Nations people and coming together with other cultures really gives us strength and empowers us as First Nations peoples.
Cameron Gooley, NITV News.
TR Wheatley is up next with another edition of Mother Tongue Teachings. We'll be right back after this short break. Thanks for staying with us. This past February was I Love to Read Month. Our goal at APTN is to take you to the roots of Indigenous languages. Frank Bolio is an Anishinaabemowin speaker that works with Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Centre in language retention, and he'll share his phrase of the day. He's experimenting with blending old words to create new ones.
Hello, bonjour. Ni Nandek, Frank Bolio and Jawi Kwetonga. Hello, my name is Frank Bolio from Sandy Ojibwe Nation, and the word I'd like to share with you today is fax machine. There are 13 words. A machine that writes through a phone line that reaches the other part of the world by paper, and then they send the paper back through via line and shows up here. Targeting those little ones so they can build up their vocabulary, So the root word. I choose that word so the retention of our language is more visible, and every vowel in our Ojibwe language has a meaning to it. In English, we would have to reintroduce that in Ojibwe. Meaning the fax machine that you feed the information through a paper and it comes back that way. Niap meaning comes back in a paper form. So it makes a lot of sense to the young reader and the older reader and the instructor. So us here, that's what we do here too. We also have a lot of involvement in intercooperating with other communities to get their language back. We're helping our communities bring them back to life.
Sticking with our mother tongue teachings, Dennis Shorty is up next. Dennis is from the Yukon to share the Kaska Dene language.
My Kastana name is Dennis Shorty, and I'm from Ross River. My Dene name is Gotsaza, and I also have another name, Athiga to Atinikhadli, and I'm from Tuatlitlini. The language is Athabaskan, part of Athabaskan language. The dialect I speak is probably Kaska, that's what they say, but Kaska, Dene language. When we were traveling on the land a long time ago, people used to travel with toboggans, and when people all go out on the land to do harvesting, that's what they say. Our elders, so alla get dead, so alla get dead, so alla get dead, so alla get dead. That means to walk slowly together. So I'm one of the fluent speakers. People, they phone me and ask me for this and that, and it takes me a little while to think though, because English is backwards. So I have to click into Dene mode. Residential schools. This Sistawali, Kat Awali, then Akwista, Sika Diasti, Skathagak, Gazatati, Gazatasi, the Nick Collar. Even though it took me residential school, even though I tried to beat the language all of me, I still speak my language. I still know who I am. So all I get that. So all I get that.
And if you want to see more language teachings, go over to our website at aptnnews.ca/mother tongue teachings. And that's your special edition of APTN National Newscast while our staff is away for part of the week. We're back again with all new stories next week. Make sure to join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, thank you for watching. Exe.